At my brother-in-law's funeral, my mother-in-law suddenly knelt down and kowtowed to me, bleeding from the corner of her forehead. She begged me through tears, "You only gave birth to a daughter. Divorce my son and let your sister-in-law, who has 2 sons, take your place as his wife." All the relatives in the room chimed in, saying that this was the best choice for the family. I looked at the old man, hoping he would say something. He avoided my gaze and murmured, "Mom was just thinking about the family." The acrid smell of incense in the funeral hall choked the throat. I knelt on the prayer cushion, tossing paper money into the brazier one sheet at a time. The flames licked at the edges, curling them up before they turned to black ash. My daughter, only 5, pressed timidly against me, her tiny hand clutching tightly at the hem of my clothes. Frightened by the oppressive and unfamiliar scene, the mother-in-law's shrill, deliberately exaggerated wails grated on the nerves like a dull blade. She was nearly collapsed beside the coffin, pounding the floor as she cried, "My son, how could you just leave like this, abandoning your wife and 2 children? How are they supposed to survive?" The Shin family line is finished. She bit down on the word childless with extra force, like a poison-tipped needle stabbing into me and my daughter. Instinctively, I pulled my daughter closer. Lying in the coffin was my brother-in-law Shin Rue, barely over 30. He had been driving drunk, slammed into a guardrail, and died on the spot, leaving behind his widow Lin Wanin and 2 sons, aged 7 and 5. My husband Shin Mo knelt beside me, his back stiff, head bowed, his expression unreadable. He had always been like this, silent, obedient, especially in front of his mother. Just then, my mother-in-law's sobbing abruptly stopped. She pushed away the relatives who were supporting her, staggered to her feet, and swept her gaze across the room like a searchlight, finally fixing it firmly on Shin Mo and me. The funeral hall fell silent in an instant, leaving only the low, stifled sobs of my sister-in-law Lin Wanin in the corner, dressed in mourning clothes, her face pale, eyes red and swollen, with her 2 bewildered sons in tow. She truly looked a picture of misery. My mother-in-law walked over step by step, each footfall heavy as if pressing down on everyone's hearts. She first pointed at Lin Wanin, her voice dripping with theatrical sorrow. "Wanin's fate is so bitter. Losing her man at such a young age, left to raise the only 2 sons of our Shin family. How will she get by in the days to come?" Then, she abruptly turned her head toward me and Shin Mo. "Shin Mo," she barked sharply, making my daughter flinch and huddle into my arms. Shin Mo shuddered all over, lifted his head, his face a mask of utter confusion and helplessness. "Mom, your brother is gone." The mother-in-law stared at him intently, her voice resolute and brooking no argument, carrying an authority that left no room for doubt. "What he left behind is the root of our Shin family. It's a boy. It's your father, your grandfather." The ancestral line passed down through generations. My heart sank like a stone, and a foreboding sense of dread coiled around my spine like an icy snake. "Sumi." The mother-in-law's gaze finally landed on my face, her eyes devoid of any warmth, filled only with naked contempt and calculation. "She only gave birth to a girl, a worthless burden who can't carry on the family line. She's taking up space without producing a son. Our Shin family can't be ruined by her." "Mom," I couldn't help but blurt out, blood rushing to my head. "What are you saying?" "Shut up," my mother-in-law snapped, her spittle nearly hitting my face. "You have no right to speak here." She turned back to Shin Mo, her tone carrying a frantic, desperate finality, her voice echoing through the funeral hall. "Today, before our ancestors and all our relatives, I'm laying it out. Shin Mo, you must divorce Sumi, then marry Wanin, raise your younger brother's son legitimately, carry on the Shin family line, and keep our bloodline alive." Boom! It was as if a thunderbolt had exploded right overhead. I stood frozen in place, my blood running cold, a ringing in my ears, hardly able to believe what I had just heard. My husband, at my brother-in-law's funeral, divorcing me, to marry his widowed sister-in-law, just because she gave birth to 2 sons, while I only had a daughter. Absurd, shameless, outrageous. A deathly silence fell over the funeral hall for a moment, then it erupted like a boiling pot. The relatives whispered among themselves, their faces a mix of shock, disbelief, and even a hint of gleeful excitement at the drama unfolding. Not a single person stepped forward to say, "This is absurd." "Mom, have you lost your mind?" I heard my own voice trembling, choked with tears. "How can you say something like that?" My mother-in-law didn't even glance at me, her eyes fixed on Shin Mo as if trying to nail him to the cross of filial piety. "Shin Mo, say something. You're the eldest son of the Shin family. This is your responsibility. Do you want your brother to die with his eyes open? Do you want our family line to end?" Shin Mo's face was as pale as paper, his lips trembling. He looked at his nearly hysterical mother, then at Lin Wanyin, who was crying like a pear blossom in the rain. Finally, his gaze, evasive and hesitant, fell on me. Filled with struggle and pain, "Mom, this won't do." His voice was as faint as a mosquito's buzz. "Not possible. How could it not be possible?" A sharp voice rang out. It was my sister-in-law Shinli, who had always held a grudge against me. Now she was even more eager to stir things up. "Sumi has been married into our family for so many years, yet she only gave birth to a daughter. That alone is a disservice to the Shin family. Now that Rui is gone, leaving behind 2 nephews, are we supposed to just stand by and watch them suffer as orphans, let outsiders bully them? As the eldest brother, isn't it only natural for Shin Mo to step up and take care of them? Marrying Wanyin would make everything legitimate for the children." "What's wrong with that?" "Exactly," chimed in another relative, Aunt 3, who never knew right from wrong. In a low voice, "Wanyin is so pitiful, and the child is still so young. We can't really let her remarry and take our old Shin family's grandson away, can we?" "Shin Mo, you're the eldest brother, you need to step up and take responsibility." "Yeah, I can't just let your brother's line die out." A cacophony of voices surged over me like a tidal wave, all perched on their moral high ground, accusing me and pressuring Shin Mo. In their eyes, only those so-called family heirs mattered. My daughters and my feelings were utterly insignificant. Lin Wanyin continued to sob quietly, neither refuting nor taking a stand, silently acquiescing to it all. I was utterly alone, stripped bare and thrown into a frozen wasteland. Trembling all over, my vision blurring with rage, I looked at Shin Mo, my husband, my daughter's father, hoping he would step up like a man, fiercely denounce this absurd demand, and protect his wife and daughter. But he kept his head bowed low, his hands clenched into fists with knuckles turning white, veins bulging on his forehead, yet he never uttered the words, "I will never divorce." Seeing his hesitation, the mother-in-law slammed the coffin lid with a loud bang and thundered, "Shin Mo, if you don't agree today, you're unfilial, you're a sinner of the Shin family, you've failed your dead brother. I'll smash my head right here and go with your brother. Let the Shin family die out completely." With that, she made as if to ram her head into the coffin. "Mom," Shin Mo cried out in terror, lunging forward to grab her. The relatives also stirred and stepped forward to dissuade. "Sister-in-law, don't do anything rash." "Shin Mo, just agree with your mom already. Do you really want to drive her to despair?" In the chaos, Shin Mo was shoved and pulled by the crowd, his mother-in-law's wails and the relatives' accusations wrapped around him like a giant net, trapping him tightly. He jerked his head up and looked at me, his eyes filled with a shattered, almost pleading despair. "Sumi," his throat tightened, his voice hoarse and broken, "how about we go through a fake divorce first, to calm Mom down? She's old. She can't handle any more shocks. My brother just passed away. I can't be the one to push my mom over the edge." Fake divorce. Hearing such utterly absurd words coming out of his mouth, watching him casually abandon me and our daughter for his bizarre family, the last shred of hope I had was completely shattered. My chest felt as if it had been struck hard by a blunt object, the pain so intense I could barely breathe. Tears welled up uncontrollably, but I held them back with all my might, digging my nails deep into my palms, leaving several crescent-shaped bloody marks. "This is the man I married. This is the in-laws family I've given my whole heart to. In the face of profit and that ridiculous notion of carrying on the family line, my daughter and I can be sacrificed and abandoned at any moment." The funeral hall was in chaos. The mother-in-law kept wailing relentlessly, while the relatives offered their kind consolations. Lin Wanyin's sobs faded into the background noise. Together, they all staged this inhumane farce, and I, standing at the eye of the storm, felt a bone-chilling cold and humiliation. I looked at Shin Mo's face, indecisive, anguished, yet clearly wavering, then at my mother-in-law's eyes, brimming with smugness and venomous cruelty, and finally at all those faces that feigned grief but were actually etched with selfishness and scheming. A fury like never before, mixed with shards of ice, raged and froze wildly in my chest. "I will not divorce. I will never swallow this insult. Aren't you guys going to play? Okay, I'll see this through to the end." I picked up my terrified daughter, held her tightly in my arms, straightened my nearly buckling spine, and cast a cold gaze over everyone present, etching their faces and their disgraceful acts one by one into my memory. Chapter 2. Holding my daughter, I turned and walked away. The gazes in the funeral hall, some sympathetic, some gawking, some accusing, pierced my back like needles. My mother-in-law's shrill wailing continued, mixed with accusations of Shin Mo's Filial impiety, Shinemo didn't follow. Every step felt like walking on cotton, yet also like treading on red-hot coals. My daughter sobbed softly in my arms, her warm little face pressed against my icy neck. This was my only reality and solace at that moment. Back home, the door that once held countless warm moments of our little family now felt as cold as a tomb. I set my daughter down on the sofa, wrung out a hot towel to wipe her face. The little girl was terrified, her eyes red and swollen, clutching my sleeve tightly and refusing to let go. "Mommy, why was Grandma so mean? Why didn't Daddy come back with us?" she asked, her voice choked with tears. My throat was tight and aching as I bent down to hold her, stroking her back over and over. "It's okay, baby, don't be scared, Mommy's here." It took a long time of soothing before my daughter finally fell asleep, still hiccuping with sobs, tears clinging to her eyelashes. I sat by the bed, staring at the heavy darkness outside the window, my heart sinking little by little. The phone screen lit up and went dark, then lit up again. All messages from Shinemo. "Sumi, let me explain. Mom is just too heartbroken. I know it sounds crazy, but she's my mom. I can't just stand by and watch her. Juanine and the 2 children are truly pitiful. We can't just stand by and do nothing. The fake divorce is just a temporary fix. Once I've calmed Mom down, Sumi, please call me back, okay?" Each one is more ridiculous and more chilling than the last. A temporary fix, wait for him to smooth things over, when his mother is threatening suicide, and his whole family thinks it's only natural to sacrifice me and our daughter. He still has the nerve to talk to me about a temporary fix. I didn't reply to a single one and just muted it. After an unknown amount of time, the sound of a key turning came from outside the door. It was very faint, hesitant. "It's Shinemo." I didn't move, still sitting on the edge of the bed with my back to the door. He crept in, carrying the scent of funeral incense and the chill of the night. He walked to the bedside, looked at his sleeping daughter, and reached out to touch her head, but his fingertips froze midair before falling limply to his side. "Sumi," his voice was hoarse, heavy with exhaustion and a hint of pleading. I didn't look back. He stood behind me for a moment, the air so still it was suffocating. "About today. I know you've been hurt," he said with difficulty. "Mom, she's confused. After our brother passed, she couldn't handle the shock." "Don't take those words to heart." I spun around, glaring at him, lowering my voice so I wouldn't wake our daughter, but unable to hide the ice in it. "Not take it to heart, Shinemo. Your mother, in front of all the relatives, forced you to divorce me and marry your sister-in-law, all because I didn't give you a son, and you're telling me not to take it to heart." He flinched at the hatred in my eyes, instinctively stepping back half a pace, his gaze darting away. "No, that's not what I meant. I'm saying, what Mom said doesn't count. How could we possibly? Then why didn't you argue back then?" I cut him off, my voice trembling slightly from suppressed anger. "When your mom was threatening to kill herself, you held her back. Why didn't you tell her it was absolutely impossible? When your relatives pointed fingers at me, calling me a barren hen taking up a nest without laying eggs, where were you, Shinemo? Tell me." In that moment, didn't a part of you think she was right? Didn't you think sacrificing me and Nyonyo for the sake of your family's legacy was the right thing to do? I didn't. He defended himself urgently, his face turning even paler. "Sumi, how could you think that of me? Nyonyo is our daughter. How could I ever?" "You would," I said firmly, tears finally welling up against my will, but I stubbornly refused to let them fall. "You hesitated, you wavered. You even brought up a fake divorce, Shinemo. In that moment, you had already made your choice." He seemed drained of all strength, stumbled, leaned against the wall, covered his face with both hands, and his shoulders slumped. "What could I do? She's my mom. She's so old. I was really afraid something would happen to her." Here we go again. Filial piety and responsibility, like 2 crushing mountains, weighed him down completely and pushed our little family to the brink of collapse. "So you chose to let something happen to me and our child, didn't you?" I looked at him, my heart turning to ashes. "Shinemo, let me tell you, I will never agree to a divorce. Don't even think about it." He looked up, his eyes red-rimmed, filled with genuine pain and struggle. "Divorce? Of course not. We'll live our lives well. Once Mom calms down, this will all blow over. Let it go." I sneered. "Your mother, she'd never let this go. Shinemo, you're way too naive." As if to prove my point, his phone rang abruptly, jarringly loud in the dead of night. He glanced at the screen and his expression shifted. It was his mother-in-law. He hesitated for a moment, then walked out to the balcony to answer it. Through the glass door, I couldn't make out the details, only seeing him nod repeatedly, his brow furrowed, occasionally arguing in a low voice that was quickly drowned out by the louder tone on the other end. After more than 10 minutes, he hung up the phone and walked back, his face looking even worse than before. Mom said she's bringing Juanine and the 2 kids to stay with us tomorrow. He couldn't meet my eyes, his voice dry and strained. I was so furious I almost laughed. Come live here. On what grounds? Mom said the old house stirs up too many memories, and Juanine is scared to live there with the child. Our place is bigger, and it's just sitting empty anyway. Besides, we're all family, living together. We can look out for each other. His voice trailed off, lacking conviction. Take care of them. I repeated the words, nausea and anger churning in my chest. Shenemo. Are you really that clueless, or are you just pretending? Your mother is trying to shove Juanine and her 2 sons right under our noses, forcing us to give in. She wants everyone to think we're one big happy family, and that me and Ñoño are the ones who don't belong. No, Sumi, you're overthinking it. He tried to calm me down, reaching out to grab my hand, but I shook him off hard. Overthinking it? Fine, then tell me, where are they going to stay when they get here? Where will they sleep? We only have 3 rooms in this house, Mom said. Ñoño can sleep with us for now, or we could set up a cot in the living room. He mumbled, make my daughter sleep on a camp bed to make room for those so-called heirs. A rush of blood surged to my head, my vision went dark in waves, and I could barely stand. I pointed at the door, mustering all my strength, and squeezed out a few words through gritted teeth. Shenemo, you listen to me. In this house, it's either me or them or me. If you dare let them set foot through that door, I'll take Ñoño and leave right now. I mean what I say. With that, I stopped looking at his pathetic, pained expression, turned back to the bedside, and held my sleeping daughter tightly behind him. Shenemo fell into a long, deathly silence. Chapter 3. At the break of dawn, a noise came from outside the door. It wasn't the sound of keys, but a confident, insistent knock. Bang, bang, bang. Carrying an unquestionable urgency, the daughter was startled. Awake, her eyes wide and confused, Shenemo practically sprang up from the sofa. He hadn't dared to go into the bedroom last night and had spent the night curled up in the living room. He took a look through the peephole, and his face instantly turned pale. He turned back to me, looking helpless. I didn't even need to look to know who it was. I took a deep breath, straightened my pajamas, walked over, and yanked the door open. Outside the door, my mother-in-law stood with one hand on her hip, the other holding the hand of Lin Wanine's 5-year-old younger son, Xin Jiabao. Lin Wanine followed behind her, looking meek, carrying a large travel bag, while her 7-year-old older son, Xin Jiayao, looked around curiously. Behind my mother-in-law was my sister-in-law Shinli, wearing an expression that said she was ready for a show. Quite the spectacle. What's taking you so long? It's been ages. My mother-in-law shot me a displeased glare, then looked past me at Shenemo, her tone instantly turning reproachful. Xiao, didn't I tell you to get up early and tidy up? Look how long Juanine and the kid have been waiting. With that, she tried to push her way in. I stood my ground, unmoving, blocking the doorway. Mom, what are you all doing so early in the morning? My voice was calm, yet carried an unyielding coldness. It was as if my mother-in-law had just noticed me. She looked me up and down, let out a snort, and said, what's the matter? Didn't I already settle this with Xiao yesterday? Juanine and her 3 kids are moving in starting today. That old house is unlivable, and Rue just passed away. We can't just leave a widow and orphans out on the street, can we? Now move it, get out of the way, don't block the path. She reached out to push me. All settled. I sidestepped her hand, my gaze fixed squarely on Shenemo. Settled with whom? Shenemo, did you agree to let them move in? Shenemo opened his mouth, his face ashen, under his mother-in-law's piercing glare and my icy stare. His lips trembled, but he couldn't utter a single word. What are you looking at him for? Am I not the one in charge of this household? The mother-in-law raised her voice, shoving Xin Jiabao forward. Jiabao, Yao, come on, call him uncle. From now on, this is your home. Xin Jiabao timidly glanced at Shenemo but said nothing. Xin Jiayao, however, called out crisply, uncle. That uncle was like a key, instantly unlocking the mother-in-law's flood of words and shattering Shenmo's last shred of hesitation. He looked at his 2 nephews, especially Xin Jiayao, who bore a striking resemblance to his younger brother Xin Rue. His eyes reddened, and he choked out a response. Ah, my mother-in-law shot me a smug glance, her eyes clearly saying, see, blood is thicker than water. Where's Ñoño? My mother-in-law craned her neck to look inside, hurry up and have her clear out the room for Jiao and Jiabao. She's just a little girl, she can sleep on a cot in the living room from now on. Or squeeze in with you guys, Mom, I finally snapped, cutting her off sharply. This is my home, Nyo is my daughter, why should she give up her space for outsiders? Outsiders, who are you calling outsiders? My mother-in-law exploded instantly, pointing at Lin Yinyin and the two kids. This is Ruizi's wife, Ruizi's flesh and blood, the legitimate grandsons of our Shin family. You're the outsider here. A woman who can't even bear a son, sister-in-law, that's not fair, Shinli chimed in with a sarcastic tone. Now that Wanyin and the nephews are in trouble, isn't it only right for us as family to help out? Blocking them from coming in is just selfish and inconsiderate. Do you really want to see them end up on the streets? Lin Wanyin lowered her head at just the right moment, wiping away non-existent tears with the back of her hand, her shoulders trembling slightly, putting on a look of someone deeply wronged with no one to turn to. Help, fine, I said, barely containing my anger, my nails digging into my palm. We'll cover rent, living expenses, tuition, whatever we owe, not a penny less, but moving into my home and taking over my daughter's room, absolutely not. Bullshit, my mother-in-law spat, saliva flying. Renting a place costs money, doesn't it? Wouldn't it be better to save that for Jiao and Jiabao's schooling and future wives? Why throw it away on outsiders? Shinemo, are you dead? Are you just going to let your wife bully your mother, your late brother's widow, and his sons like this? All the pressure once again fell on Shinmo. He clutched his head in agony, crouched down, and let out a muffled sob. Seeing this, the old woman got even more worked up. She plopped down on the ground, slapped her thighs, and wailed, "Oh, heavens above, what kind of fate is this? My eldest son is unfilial. Once he got a wife, he forgot his mother. They're trying to drive us poor widows and orphans to our deaths. Rue, open your eyes and see, you barely been gone, and your brother and his wife are already trying to kick us out of the house." Her cries were piercing, echoing through the quiet neighborhood in the early morning. The neighbor across the hall quietly cracked open their door, then quickly shut it again. Shinemo jerked his head up, his eyes bloodshot. He looked at his mother, who was throwing a tantrum on the ground, then at his weeping sister-in-law and nephew. Finally, his gaze, filled with pleading and helplessness, landed on me once again. Sumi, how about letting them stay for a few days, just a few days, until they find a place? His voice was hoarse, carrying a tone of desperate resignation. Not this again. Every single time, it's like this. My heart sank completely in that moment, plunging into a bottomless icy abyss. All the anger, grievance, and resentment turned into a cold, frozen despair. I watched this man I once deeply loved, the one I thought I could entrust my life to, as he was held hostage by his so-called filial piety and responsibility, time and again pushing my daughter and me into the abyss. I know, I can't stop it anymore. Even if I don't open this door today, he will. Even if I don't let them into this home, they will come in anyway. If I keep this up, I'll only humiliate myself further and let my daughter witness an even more disgraceful scene. I suddenly laughed, almost to the point of tears. I stepped aside, clearing the doorway. Fine, stay, you can stay. My voice was eerily calm as I looked at Shinemo. Shinemo, this is your choice, don't regret it. The mother-in-law immediately stopped wailing, nimbly got up from the ground, dusted off her pants, shot me a smug glare, grabbed Shin Jiabao, and called out to Lin Wanyin and Shin Jiao, "Quick, come in, this is your home from now on." Lin Wanyin lowered her head and said timidly, "Thank you, big brother, thank you, sister-in-law." Then she took Shin Jiao's hand and hurried inside. Shinli also squeezed in, a triumphant smile on her face. Shinemo was still crouching where he was, not daring to look at me. I turned around, walked into the bedroom, and began packing up mine and my daughter's belongings, clothes, toys, daily necessities. I stuffed them one by one into the suitcase. The daughter stood by the bed, looking bewildered, and whispered, "Mom, where are we going?" I crouched down, held her in my arms, and kissed her forehead. "Don't be afraid, sweetheart, Mommy is taking you to a better place." After packing up, I took my daughter's hand, pulled the suitcase, and walked out of the bedroom. In the living room, the mother-in-law was directing Shinemo to dismantle Nyonyo's crib and pack her toys into cardboard boxes, making room for the Shin Jiao brothers. Meanwhile, Lin Wanyin was in the kitchen, rummaging through the fridge as if familiarizing herself with her new territory. No one gave us a second glance. As if we were the ones about to leave, I took my daughter by the hand and walked straight to the door. As he passed by Shinemo, he suddenly looked up, his lips moving as if he wanted to say something, but I didn't give him a chance. I pulled open the door and walked out with my daughter. Without looking back, behind me lies what was once called home, now turned into someone else's nest. The moment the elevator door slid shut, I leaned against the cold metal wall, clutching my daughter tightly, and finally let the tears stream down my face. It's not sorrow, it's resolve. Shinemo. Mother-in-law, just you wait. Take the house, take the man, they're yours. Chapter 4. I took my daughter and went back to my parents' home. When my mom opened the door and saw the two of us dragging suitcases with red, swollen eyes, she was startled and quickly pulled us inside. After listening to my account, barely holding back my anger and humiliation, she trembled with rage and nearly stormed off to confront the Shin family right then and there. But I held her back tightly. Divorce, you must. Divorce, what's there to hold on to with a family and a man like that? My mother slammed the table, pulling her granddaughter into a protective embrace. Our little girl doesn't have to put up with this. My dad sat silently to the side, his brows knitted into a tight knot. Finally, he let out a heavy sigh and said, I always knew Shinemo was too easily swayed. Sigh, you've been through so much, Mimi, living at my parents' home. My heart feels adrift at sea with no place to anchor. Shame and anger gnaw at me day and night. Shinemo called a few times, but I didn't answer. His messages were just the same old excuses. Mom is old, my brother just passed away, he has no choice, asking me to understand, saying he'll bring us back once he calms her down. Calm her down? How exactly? By kicking Lin Wanyin and her two sons out? Or does he really plan to keep me and Nyonyo temporarily at my parents' home while letting those three waltz right in? Absolutely ridiculous. One afternoon a few days later, I received a multimedia message from an unknown number on my phone. I opened it to find a photo. Shinemo, his mother, Lin Wanyin, and those two boys were sitting around the dining table at my home, or perhaps I should now call it their home. The table was laden with a feast. His mother was smiling as she served Shinjiarue food, and Shinemo sat next to Lin Wanyin, though his expression was blank. The scene was a perfect picture of a happy family enjoying each other's company. Then another message came in, still from that unknown number. Sister-in-law, Mom asked me to tell you everything's fine at home, no need to worry, Brother Mo is getting along well with the two kids too. Smile. It was Lin Wanyin. This message was like a poison needle, piercing straight into the most painful part of my heart. She was showing off, telling me in this despicable way that they had successfully taken mine and my daughter's place. I stared at that photo, looking at Shinmo's blurry yet familiar face, my stomach churning violently. Was this what he called a temporary solution? Was this his so-called no other choice? Rage surged through my chest like molten lava, nearly burning me to ashes, but I forced myself to calm down. Crying, yelling, or questioning would be pointless. It would only give them a good laugh. I deleted the messages and photos without replying. 2 days later, I received an unexpected call from Shinmo's cousin, Shin Xiaoyu. She was young, still in college, and unlike the rest of her eccentric family, she occasionally stood up for me. Sister-in-law. Her voice on the other end of the line was hesitant and angry. Are you doing okay lately? I'm fine. What's wrong, Xiaoyu? I went to my aunt's, my mother-in-law's, place yesterday, you know, Brother Mo's house. She paused, as if struggling to say it. I saw Sister Wanyin wearing your apron and cooking in the kitchen, and Jiayao and Jiabao were calling her auntie so affectionately. My aunt even. In front of everyone, she put that jade bracelet, the one Grandma passed down to the eldest daughter-in-law, on Sister Wanyin, saying, from now on, she's the eldest daughter-in-law of the Shin family, and she needs to take good care of Shinemo and the two kids. My heart clenched. That jade bracelet, when my mother-in-law gave it to me back then, she looked at me with disdain, saying I wasn't worthy, and tossed it to me carelessly. It wasn't even good quality, so I kept it stored away and never wore it. But now, she solemnly gave it to Lin Wanyin, even calling her the eldest daughter-in-law. What about Brother Mo? How did he react? I heard my own voice trembling. Brother Mo, he didn't say a word, just kept his head down and ate. My aunt also said, she said that after Brother Rue's 100-day memorial, they'd pick an auspicious day for him and Sister Wanyin to get their marriage certificate, so it would be proper and legitimate. 100 days. Getting the marriage certificate, so the so-called fake divorce and just staying for a few days were all a scam from start to finish. They had it all planned out, just waiting for Shinrue to pass the 100-day mark before kicking me out completely, so that Shinemo and Lin Wanyin could be legitimate. A chill shot from the soles of my feet straight to the crown of my head. leaving every limb and bone stiff with cold. Shin Xiaoyu was still fuming on the other end. Sister-in-law, they've gone too far, how can you just let it slide? That house is partly yours, and what about Nyonya? Xiaoyu, thank you for telling me this, I cut her off, my voice eerily calm. I understand. After hanging up, I sat by the window, watching the bustling traffic outside, and didn't move for a long time. So it turns out that compromise doesn't bring peace, it only invites more demands, and some people simply don't know when to stop. They mistake your kindness and tolerance for weakness to be exploited since you've shown no mercy. Don't blame me for showing none in return. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to a number I had almost forgotten. It belonged to Gu Huai, a senior from college with whom I had a decent relationship. He's now a partner at a well-known law firm, specializing in divorce and property dispute cases. The call was quickly answered, and Gu Huai's calm, steady voice came through. Sumi, what a rare caller. What made you think to give me a ring, Senior Gu? I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. I'd like to consult about divorce matters, specifically property division and fighting for custody. There was a brief silence on the other end of the line, and then Gu Huai's voice turned serious and professional. All right, go ahead, I'm listening. I told him everything that had happened during this time, holding nothing back, from the coercion at the funeral, to being forced to move in, to the information Shin Xiaoyu revealed. Gu Huai listened quietly, occasionally raising a few key questions. After listening to my account, he paused thoughtfully. Before speaking, Sumi, I have a general understanding of the situation. From a legal perspective, the remarks made at the funeral pressuring you to divorce, as well as the fact that your husband is currently cohabiting with another person, even if it's his sister-in-law, under the guise of a marital relationship, especially if they later obtain a marriage certificate, could all serve as evidence of fault on his part. This would be highly advantageous for you in securing property and custody rights. However, evidence is key. He paused, then continued his calm analysis. The evidence you have right now is still quite weak. That group dinner photo and Shin Xiaoyu's testimony carry some weight, but it's not enough. You need more solid proof. For instance, concrete evidence that they've been living together, a recording of your mother-in-law explicitly stating she intends to leave the property to those two boys, or recordings or chat logs of your husband admitting to a de facto marital relationship with Lin Wanin. Also, regarding that property, you need to sort out the down payment and mortgage repayment details. That's key to the division. I understand. I gripped my phone tighter, my gaze gradually turning resolute. I'll get the evidence. Be careful about how you go about it, protect yourself, and most importantly, ensure Nyonyo's safety and emotional stability, Gu Huai advised. Once you have solid evidence, contact me anytime. Sumi, don't be afraid. Cases like this, we have a strong chance of winning. Thank you, Senior. After hanging up, I looked out the window. The afterglow of the setting sun had dyed the sky a bloody red. Shinemo, mother-in-law, Lin Wanin, isn't this what you wanted? A family reunion? Fine, I'll be sending you a big surprise very soon. Chapter 5. Gu Huai's words were like a shot of adrenaline, gradually clearing my chaotic thoughts. The anger and grievance still lingered, but what dominated now was a cold, steely resolve. I couldn't just sit back and wait for doom. Nor could I let them smoothly take over my home and try to seize everything that rightfully belonged to me and my daughter. The first step is to gather evidence. I dug out an old phone I used to use, charged it up, and tested the recording function. Then, I deliberately started reaching out to the Shin family relatives who might know the inside story or hold a relatively neutral stance, like my sister-in-law Shin Xiaoyu, who had tipped me off before, and a couple of distant aunts I don't interact with often but who at least maintain a surface-level politeness on the phone. I kept my tone low, with just the right amount of grievance and helplessness, asking about my mother-in-law and Shinemo, and casually dropping Lin Wanin and the two kids into the conversation. Xiaoyu, how's mom doing? I heard, Wanin and the kids are still living at home. Sigh, Shinemo has no choice, mom insists on it. Auntie, I heard Jiao and Jiabao are really clingy with Shinemo. I guess it makes sense, since the kids lost their dad, they see their uncle as a pillar of support. Is mom happy about it? She's always liked boys. Most of the time, they either dodged the topic or sighed along with me, saying things like mom's just confused or Shinmo's in a tough spot to smooth things over. But occasionally, they'd let a few details slip. You're telling me, your mother-in-law now has our Debeo and our Yao Yao on her lips all day long. She even gave that jade bracelet to Lin Wanin, saying it's passed down to the eldest grandson's wife, a distant auntie blurted out. When I went over yesterday, I saw Sister Wanine using your massage chair, looking all comfortable, Shinseiryu said with a tone of discontent. I pressed the record button for all these conversations, though trivial, piecing them together paints a vivid picture of their cozy, happy family scene. Along with the mother-in-law's extraordinary favoritism toward those two boys, this will be very helpful in proving the other family's toxic preference for sons over daughters when I fight for custody of my daughter. But this isn't enough. I need more direct evidence about their future plans. The opportunity came quickly. Our daughter Nyonyo's kindergarten is holding a parent-child sports day, and at least one parent is required to attend. I know that Shin-mo, though indecisive, still has feelings for our daughter, so he'll most likely come to this kind of event. Sure enough, the day before the sports meet, I got a call from Shin-mo. His voice carried a long-lost tone of caution and ingratiation. Sumi, tomorrow is Nyonyo's kindergarten sports meet. Can I come? You're her father. Of course you can go, I said flatly. He seemed relieved, then hesitated and asked, then, what about you? I'll go too. There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. He seemed a bit reluctant, but in the end, he didn't say anything more. All right, then, see you tomorrow. After hanging up, I knew he was probably afraid that his mother or Lin Wanine would find out he wasn't just going to see his daughter, but also meeting me. But that's exactly what I wanted. The next day, the kindergarten was buzzing with excitement. When Nyonyo saw that both Shin-mo and I had come, her little face flushed with joy. She grabbed my hand with one hand and Shin-mo's with the other, darting between the various competition events, watching his daughter so happy. Shin-mo's face broke into a long-lost, genuine smile. Occasionally, he would glance at me, his eyes complex, tinged with guilt and a hint of an inexplicable, lingering attachment. During the break, I took Nyonyo to get some water, and Shin-mo followed along. The place was bustling with crowds and kids, so no one paid any attention to us. I seized the moment, pulled out my old phone with the recording mode already set, and casually slipped it into my pocket as if it were nothing. Then I let out a sigh, my tone laced with exhaustion and a hint of vulnerability. Shin-mo, are we really just going to let it end like this? Are you truly planning to spend the rest of your life with Lin Wanine? Shin-mo's body stiffened, the smile vanishing from his face in an instant. He lowered his head, unable to meet my eyes, his voice hoarse. Sumi, I had no choice. Mom threatened to kill herself, and Wanine and the two kids are truly pitiful. Jiayao is only 7, Jiabao is 5. They can't be left without someone to rely on, so Nyonyo and I are the ones who can be sacrificed. Is that it? I pressed, my voice catching with just the right amount of sob. Nyonyo is your daughter too. She's only 5. What's she supposed to do from now on? Watch her dad become someone else's dad? No, Nyonyo will always be my daughter. Shin-mo defended himself anxiously, sweat beading on his forehead. I'll love her, even if Wanine and I'll still treat Nyonyo well. Mom said once Wanine and I get the marriage certificate, Jiayao and Jiabao will call me dad, they'll be my sons. We'll still be a family. Marriage certificate. I latched onto the key phrase, my heart pounding in my chest, but I forced my voice to stay calm and questioning. Mom even picked out the date for you, after Shinrue's 100-day celebration. Shin-mo clearly hadn't expected me to know so much. He jerked his head up, a flicker of panic in his eyes, then slumped back down in silent admission. He rubbed his hands together, rambling as he tried to explain. Mom said that, but it's for the kid's sake, to make it legitimate. Sumi, I'm begging you, just let us have this, the house, the savings, most of it will go to you and Nyonyo. Okay, I just want the 2 kids, I only want 2 children. Those words cut into my heart like a knife forged in ice. What he wanted were 2 sons. As for the daughter, he brushed her off with, I'll leave most of the house and savings to you. A wave of immense sorrow and irony nearly knocked me off my feet. But I clenched my jaw tightly, holding back the tears that threatened to spill. The phone in my pocket had clearly recorded every word of his confession, admitting that he was about to get a marriage certificate with Lin Wanine, acknowledging his mother's arrangements, confessing his preference for sons over daughters, and agreeing to give up custody of our daughter in exchange for property, though he thought it was trading property for my blessing. This is the most compelling evidence. Just then, Nyonyo came running back with her water cup. Keenly sensing the tension in the air, she looked at us timidly and asked, Daddy, Mommy, are you fighting? Shin-mo, as if jolted awake, quickly crouched down and hugged her daughter. No, Mom and Dad weren't fighting. I watched the scene of father and daughter embracing, my heart turning cold. This man might have feelings for his daughter, but on his scale, his son, filial piety, and his bizarre family of origin will always outweigh me and our daughter. I walked over, pulled Ñoño aside, and said in a distant, cold tone, "The sports meet is almost over, I'm taking Ñoño to join the last event." With that, I turned away from him, took my daughter's hand, and left. Behind him, Shinemo stood frozen in place, utterly devastated. I know that in this moment, the last shred of affection between us has vanished completely. Along with this recording back at my parents' house, I locked the door and backed up the recording in several places, listening through the earphones to Shinmo's voice, so familiar yet so alien, and confirming those cold, heartless words over and over again. My heart, oddly enough, settled into a strange calm. It's better to have that last illusion shattered. I dialed Gu Huai's number. "Senior, I've got the evidence." Chapter 6. The day after I sent the recording to Gu Huai, he asked me to meet him at the law firm in the spacious, bright conference room. Gu Huai, dressed in a crisp suit, focused intently on the documents on his computer screen, with the backup USB drive I had brought sitting beside him. After listening to the recording, he quickly skimmed through the scattered evidence and property documents I had previously organized, lightly tapping his fingers on the desk. "Excellent, Sumi." He looked up, his gaze sharp and composed. "This recording is crucial. Your husband explicitly admitted that during his widowed sister-in-law's stay, he planned to form a new family with her, and he clearly favors sons over daughters. He's willing to trade the bulk of the assets for custody of his son, not biologically his, which is grossly unfair to his daughter. In court, this will be powerful evidence proving he bears significant fault in the marriage and is unfit to be the primary custodian of the children." He paused, picked up the property documents, and said, "As for this house, your parents covered most of the down payment, and the mortgage was jointly repaid after marriage, although it's registered solely under Shinmo's name. It's undoubtedly marital property. Given his fault, we can argue for you to receive a larger share, and even demand compensation for damages. Are you confident you can obtain the bank transfer records showing the down payment came from your parents?" "Yes," I nodded. "My parents kept all the transfer receipts from back then, and I took photos of them too." "Excellent." Gu Huai nodded approvingly. "Now we have the upper hand. You have two options going forward. First, file a lawsuit directly and catch them off guard. Second, send a lawyer's letter first for pre-litigation mediation to see how they react. I personally recommend the latter. Sometimes, you can get a better outcome at the negotiation table than through a court ruling, especially when the other party is in the wrong and likely concerned about saving face." I barely hesitated. Send a lawyer's letter. Am I going too far? No. They were the ones who went too far first. I just want to see the look on Shinemo and his arrogant mothers' faces when the noose of the law tightens around their necks. And negotiations, I'm holding the heir they want most and the assets they value most. Let's see how they negotiate. "Okay," Gu Huai said decisively, "I'll draft the lawyer's letter right away, clearly listing your demands. 1. Divorce decree. 2. Custody of your daughter Shin Yanshu, Ñoño, goes to you, with Shinemo paying high child support until she comes of age. 3. The current residence goes to you, given your larger down payment contribution and Shinmo being the at-fault party. 4. Equitable division of joint marital savings. 5. Shinmo pays compensation for emotional distress. The letter can be sent out today, directly to Shinmo's workplace." Sent to his workplace. I was momentarily stunned, then immediately understood Gu Huai's intent. Shinmo cares most about saving face, especially at work. This move puts what he values most right on the fire. "Thank you, Senior," I said sincerely. "It's my duty." Gu Huai closed his laptop, his gaze softening a little. "Sumi, be prepared. Once the lawyer's letter arrives, the other side is likely to react fiercely. Protect yourself and Ñoño." "I know." Sure enough, the afternoon after the lawyer's letter was sent, my phone started ringing off the hook. First came Shinemo, calling one after another. I just hung up and blocked him. Then it was my mother-in-law. I had deleted her number long ago, but I could imagine that hysterical tone even through the screen. Finally, the call reached my parents' home. My father answered. After a few words, his face darkened. He handed me the receiver with a helpless shake of his head. "Your mother-in-law, she's looking for you." I took a deep breath and picked up the microphone. "Sumi, you ungrateful, backstabbing wretch, what do you think you're doing? Huh, my mother-in-law's shrill voice nearly pierced my eardrums. How dare you sue Xiao Mo? And try to take the house and the kids, have you no shame? What has our Shin family ever done to deserve this from you? I pulled the microphone away a little, waiting for her to catch her breath between curses, before speaking coldly. Mom, the lawyer's letter makes it clear, it was your Shin family who wronged me first. Bullshit, that's Xiao Mo's house, it's the foundation of our Shin family, a woman who can't even bear a son. How dare you ask for the house, and that little girl Nyonyo? What future could she possibly have with you? Withdraw the lawyer's letter right now, or I'll make your life a living hell. There's no backing out. Also, Nyonyo is my daughter, so show some respect. My voice was completely flat. Respect? Pfft, Sumi, let me tell you, go ahead and divorce me if you want, just get out, but forget about the house and the kids, those belong to the Shin family. Come back now and sign the papers, leave with nothing, or else I'll make a scene at your workplace. At your parents' apartment complex, I'll humiliate you in front of everyone. Same old tricks, throwing tantrums, making threats and intimidation, whatever you want, I said, too tired to argue. If you have anything to say, talk to my lawyer. With that, I hung up the phone and yanked the cord out of the wall. Peace and quiet at last, but I knew this was only the beginning. Knowing my mother-in-law, she wouldn't let it go so easily. Sure enough, the next morning, after dropping Nyonyo off at kindergarten, I had just returned to my parents' place when I saw a few people blocking the entrance to the building. My mother-in-law, Shinli, and Lin Wanin. My mother-in-law stood with her hands on her hips. Shinli wore a sour expression, and Lin Wanin still put on that timid act, but there was a hint of barely concealed smugness in her eyes. So, it's time for negotiations, or rather, a power play to force my hand. Sumi, you're finally back. My mother-in-law rushed at me the moment she saw me, pointing a finger in my face. You need to come with me to the law firm right now and withdraw that damn lawyer's letter. I stopped in my tracks and looked at them calmly. Not a chance. You. My mother-in-law was shaking with rage and raised her hand to hit me, but Shinli quickly grabbed her arm. Sister-in-law, why must you do this? Shinli said with feigned concern. Taking this to court would be so ugly. It's not good for you, for brother Mo, or for Nyonyo. We're all family, can't we just talk things out? Family, I let out a scoff, my gaze sweeping over Lin Wanin. You two are the real family now, aren't you? What's there to discuss with me? Lin Wanin lowered her head under my gaze and whispered, Sister-in-law, I know you hate me, but I have no choice, neither do the children. Mom and Mo are well-intentioned, please just let us be. We don't need the house or the money, just give Jia Yao and Jia Bao a complete family. What a fine nothing we could do. What a fine complete family. You've managed to wash your hands clean, while all the good intentions belong to everyone else. My mother-in-law immediately chimed in. Did you hear that? Wanin is so generous, she doesn't want anything, just a title. You need to sign the divorce papers right now, leave the house, and the child is a Shin family bloodline, can't go with you. I almost wanted to applaud their shameless logic. Title? What title? The title of turning a sister-in-law into a wife. I stared at my mother-in-law, asking word by word, Mom, are you in such a hurry to shove your daughter-in-law onto your eldest son that you're not afraid of outsiders laughing at us, not afraid that Shinrui won't rest in peace underground? My mother-in-law's face instantly turned ashen, like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. What nonsense are you talking? I'm doing this for the Shin family's legacy, for Rui's son. What do you know? For the sake of ancestral lineage, you'd disregard human decency and force your son to divorce and marry his widowed sister-in-law. I pressed forward, voice sharp. When word gets out about what you've done, let's see who laughs at me more, me or the shameless Shin family. You. The mother-in-law clutched her chest, looking as if she were about to faint from anger. Shinli quickly caught her, glaring at me with fury. Sumi, that's enough. If anything happens to Mom, I'll never let you off. Lin Wanin also promptly supported her mother-in-law from the other side, on the verge of tears. Sister-in-law, please don't make Mom angry anymore, it's all my fault. Watching this heartwarming scene of a loving mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, and harmonious sisters-in-law, I felt nothing but disgust. You don't need to put on a show for me here, I cut in coldly. I'll say it again, any demands, talk to my lawyer. You want me to drop the case, give up the house and the kids? Not a chance, unless I'm dead. Having said that, I walked past them and headed straight for the building entrance. Sumi, you stop right there, my mother-in-law shrieked. Behind me, you're not dropping the lawsuit, are you? Fine, just you wait, let's see how long you can keep acting so high and mighty. I'm going straight to the kindergarten to find Ñoño. I'll see if she'll come with me, her own grandmother. My steps came to an abrupt halt, and the blood in my veins seemed to freeze instantly. They actually tried to harm my daughter. I slowly turned around, my gaze like ice-forged blades, sweeping over my mother-in-law, Shenli, and Lin Wanyin. The cold ferocity and unyielding resolve in my eyes made them instinctively take a step back. Try touching a single hair on Ñoño, and see what happens. My voice was low, but laced with a chilling menace. I swear, I'll make the Shen family suffer. No peace, no safety, pay a price you'll never be able to bear. My mother-in-law was so startled by my appearance that she stood there with her mouth open, unable to speak for a moment. Shenli shouted, her voice fierce but trembling with fear, what do you want? You can try if you want. I left those words behind, didn't look back at them, turned and walked into the building entrance, slamming the door shut to block out their shouts. Leaning against the cold iron door, my heart pounded and my hands and feet turned icy. Chapter 7, Senior, I've changed my mind, I said bluntly, my eyes filled with a determined resolve. I'm not filing for divorce. Alright, let's do it, I said without hesitation. Temporarily, I coldly cut him off. Shenmo, are you still fooling yourself? Are they staying temporarily, or do they plan to stay forever? Don't you know that in your heart, your mother even gave Lin Wanyin a jade bracelet, and you've already picked the date for your wedding in 100 days. That's my home. The home my parents used most of their savings to help me pay the down payment on. Why should I let your whole family live there happily? Sue me, they're my brother's kids. How can you talk like that? As expected, the night before the 3-day deadline, those repulsive faces appeared again at the entrance of my mother's apartment complex. This time, the crowd was bigger. My mother-in-law, Shenmo, Shenli, Lin Wanyin, even those 2 boys were there. My mother-in-law dropped right down onto the ground, wailing and slapping her thighs, drawing a crowd of onlookers. Shenmo stood aside, pale-faced, head down, like a guilty man, yet also like an outsider. 110, XXX. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This truth was the final straw that broke Shenmo, the Shen family's heir for whom he had abandoned his wife and daughter, given everything, and toiled to raise for over a decade, turned out to have not a single drop of blood relation to him or the Shen family. His life had become nothing short of a colossal joke. When the mother-in-law learned the news, her cerebral hemorrhage worsened on the spot, and she died in bitterness within a few days. Lin Wanyin, on the other hand, quickly sold off the house once it was in her hands, and vanished without a trace with the money and her 2 sons, reportedly heading to some city in the south, severely ill, deceived, and left with nothing. Shenmo had his medication cut off by the hospital and was kicked out of the ward, dragging his sick body with nowhere to go. He ended up on the streets on a cold winter night. Somehow, he stumbled near the neighborhood where Gu Heng and I lived. Perhaps, in the final moments of his life, he remembered the daughter he had abandoned, hoping to find a last shred of comfort or help. The security guard knew me and called up, his tone a bit hesitant. Mrs. Gu, there's a homeless man downstairs, says he's looking for you, named Shenmo. He doesn't look too good. I walked to the window and lifted a corner of the curtain to look down. Under the dim yellow light of the neighborhood street lamp, a hunched figure curled up in a corner was barely discernible, filthy and shivering in the cold wind. At that moment, I felt neither hatred nor sympathy in my heart, only a cold, icy calm. Ñoño, now we all call her by her full name, Shen Yenshu, was practicing piano in the study, the melodious notes flowing out. She was about to graduate from high school, with excellent grades and aiming for the top music conservatory in the country. Cheerful and confident, she had grown into a wonderful girl in an environment full of love. Gu Heng was beside his son, patiently reading him a picture book. This is my home, my life, clean, warm, and intolerant of any filth or disturbance. I drew the curtain and said to the security guard, I don't know this person, please handle it according to the rules. Okay, Mrs. Gu. The next day, word spread through the community that the homeless man had frozen to death the night before. No one came to claim him in the end. I didn't go to see him one last time. For Shenmo, he had already died in my heart many years ago, when I took my daughter and left that home he had taken over. When I received the divorce decree, his fate was the fruit of the seeds he and his family had sown: greed, ignorance, selfishness, cowardice, Each one pushed him toward that cold end, but my daughter and I had long since left that swamp behind, walking steadily and calmly under the sunlight. Our happiness is the most thorough and powerful farewell and mockery of that past. Story 2. Qing Xian's childhood sweetheart and I got pregnant at the same time. To protect her reputation, he claimed the child she was carrying was his. Meanwhile, my child became branded as a fatherless bastard. When I confronted him, Qing Xian responded coldly. Qingran had always been the good girl. She couldn't bear the gossip about being pregnant before marriage. That day, looking at the man I'd loved for 7 years, I finally understood what it felt like to fall out of love. Later came the day my family, ashamed of me, forced me to get an abortion. He was abroad, accompanying his childhood sweetheart as she peacefully awaited the birth of their child. When I returned, I had already terminated the pregnancy and vanished from his life forever. During my 3rd month of pregnancy, Qing Xian's childhood sweetheart also became pregnant. We ran into each other at the hospital, never expecting to overhear such a conversation. Xian, feel our baby. I think he just moved. A tender glow softened Qing Xian's face as he let Song Qingran guide his hand to her belly. The next moment, when the doctor called my name, Qing Xian spun around abruptly. He stared at me in panic, his words failing him again and again. I slowly walked up to him and slapped him hard across the face several times. His cheeks were red and swollen from my blows, yet he still didn't utter a single word. Qing Xian, give me an explanation. Seeing me hit Qing Xian, his childhood sweetheart Song Qingran was heartbroken. She shoved me aside and spread her arms protectively in front of Qing Xian. I'm the one carrying Xian's child. If you have any issues, deal with me. In that instant, my worst fears were confirmed, and the tears I'd been holding back began to fall against my will. Seeing me cry, Qing Xian pushed past Song Qingran's attempts to stop him and pulled me into a comforting embrace. He whispered soothingly, meow meow, don't cry, the baby in her belly isn't mine. Song Qingran pouted and began sobbing, wiping away her tears. She stared pitifully at the man before her, as if he had done something to wrong her. Xian, you promised to be my child's father. How could you tell her? Qing Xian wiped my tears while giving her a cold, disapproving look. Jian Miao is my wife. She has the right to know the truth. Song Qingran immediately stopped crying, a cryptic smile playing on her lips. Oh, does she even know the child she's carrying is a bastard? At that moment, Qing Xian's body began trembling uncontrollably, his face turning pale. Song Qingran continued gloating from the sidelines. Brother Xian did all this for me. He was afraid I'd face public scrutiny, so he had to sacrifice his own flesh and blood. Jiang Miao, my child will be Xian's firstborn. Since it's unseemly for your child to be called a bastard, I'll have Xian adopt him as his ward. I stared at the man who now felt like a stranger, thrashing wildly in his arms like a madwoman. Qing Xian's eyes reddened, his voice hoarse as he repeated I'm sorry over and over. It took me a long, tearful while before I could finally form the question, is Song Qingran really that important enough to let our child bear the stigma of being called a bastard? Qing Xian paused, then spoke with difficulty. Qingran has always been a well-behaved girl since childhood. She couldn't handle the gossip about being pregnant before marriage. He held my exhausted, slumped form tightly against his chest, murmuring words that seemed meant for both of us. Meow meow, I won't let you bear this reputation for long. Once Qingran's matters are settled, we'll make our child's identity public. That day, I gazed at the man I had loved for 7 years. That was the first time I understood what it felt like to fall out of love. Qing Xian led me to his car, intending to drive me home, but as soon as the door opened, I saw the interior crammed with Song Qingran's personal belongings. Extra cushions were placed behind every headrest, clear evidence of how much importance Qing Xian placed on the safety of Song Qingran's child. Song Qingran brushed past me and swaggered into the passenger seat. Xian Gage spent ages making this himself because he was worried I might feel uncomfortable. Don't stand on ceremony, hop in the car. Qing Xian coldly snapped at his childhood sweetheart, but Song Qingran wasn't the least bit afraid of him, coquettishly pleading, Brother Xian, don't be so harsh with me, you'll frighten our baby. Despite Song Qingran's utterly unconvincing acting, Qing Xian actually fell for it. Nervously, he reached out to touch his childhood sweetheart's belly, his voice softening. What could a mere 3-month-old fetus possibly be scared of? I silently watched their interaction and quietly closed the car door. In that moment, the child I had once so eagerly anticipated now stirred thoughts of not wanting it. Shortly after I got home, Qing Xian rushed in from outside with a deep frown. He tried to explain himself to me. Meow meow. You know how dire Qingran's family situation is. I couldn't just stand by and not help her. You understand where I'm coming from, don't you? That day, Qingxian's childhood friend rushed to his office in tears and trembled in his arms. Qingxian carried his childhood sweetheart from the doorway to the sofa, coaxing her in a gentle tone, but before he could calm her down, Song Qingran's parents stormed in with aggressive demeanor. Tell us, who is the father of the child you're carrying? Song Qingran wished she could bury her entire body in his embrace, not daring to move a muscle. The Song family was a distinguished scholarly household, and they held their only daughter to particularly high standards. Song Qingran didn't even have a boyfriend, yet she found herself pregnant. In a moment of panic, Song Qingran blurted out that the child was his. Qingxian's heart softened in that instant, and against all odds, he actually acknowledged it as his own. A pained expression crossed Qingxian's face, as if willing me to understand how difficult this was for him. With anguish weighing heavy on my heart, I asked my final question: why not get an abortion? Qingxian couldn't meet my gaze, his words coming in broken fragments. Qingran, she wants to keep the baby. Once I have a child of my own, she's afraid her child will be labeled a bastard. I burst into tears before he could finish speaking. I stared at the man before me with utter contempt. So for her sake, you're willing to let your own child bear the stigma of being called a bastard, is that it? Qingxian suppressed the ache in his heart and finally closed his eyes. I'm sorry, but Qingran begged me. I couldn't just stand by and do nothing. I wiped the tears from my face haphazardly and took a deep breath, then get rid of the baby inside me. No. Qingxian's eyes instantly blazed with fury, his voice as cold as ice. I won't let go of either you or the child Qingran is carrying. Afraid I'd say more, Qingxian fled from me in disarray. The next day, over a dozen bodyguards appeared around our house. He wouldn't let me go out anymore. He confiscated my phone, cutting me off from the outside world. I don't understand why he insists on keeping this child he clearly doesn't value, especially after already accepting Song Qingran's child as his own. Why does he still have to hold on to this child he clearly doesn't care about? Qingxian has kept me confined here for what's been a stable 3-month period. The doorbell rang. It was Song Qingran and her family, accompanied by movers. The moment she saw me, Mother Song sneered sarcastically. Some people really have no shame, carrying a bastard child. How dare they still cling to the title of Mrs. Qing? My poor foolish daughter has suffered so much for the sake of her Xian brother. Father Song cleared his throat involuntarily, his eyes filled with contempt as he looked at me. All right, let's not subject your eyes to this mess any longer. Hurry up and pack our daughter's things. A crowd of people at the entrance, laden with bags and parcels, made their way upstairs. Seeing that the living room was now free of outsiders, a mocking smile curled at the corner of Song Qingran's lips. So what if Xian married you? So what if my child isn't biologically his? In his heart, you still can't compare to me in any way. I saw Song Qingran's smug smile and immediately swung my arm at her. I used all my strength, even sitting on top of her and slapping her repeatedly from both sides. Song Qingran lay on the ground, howling in pain. In the end, Qingxian, who had rushed back from outside, pulled us apart. Song Qingran picked the wrong person to mess with. A woman with a broken heart has nothing left to fear. Song Qingran's loud sobbing drew his parents downstairs. His mother shot me a venomous glare and demanded Qingxian throw me out. With her around, I'm not comfortable having our Qingran stay here. Xian, if you don't send her away, I'll take Qingran back home with me. The Song family is perfectly capable of supporting one more child. Your Qing family can just keep clinging to that bastard child of yours. Song Qingran lifted her gaze slightly from Qingxian's embrace and shot me a veiled, knowing smile. Qingxian remained silent for a long while. Just as Madame Song began to think her threat was working, Qingxian slowly released Song Qingran and came to stand by my side. I could never ask my wife to leave. Auntie, please take Qingran back to stay with you for now. At that moment, Song Qingran started crying and making a scene again. In the end, it was Song's father who smoothed things over, giving Qingran away to save face and stay. My room was downgraded from the best room in this villa to a cramped, dimly lit storage space downstairs. Qingxian said that for the sake of the baby in Song Qingran's womb, I'd have to put up with this arrangement for a while. Meow meow, don't worry, I promise I'll move you to a different room before you give birth. Honestly, I no longer cared where I lived. I won't bring a child into this world that nobody wants. It would be cruel to subject them to a life of suffering, probably on Qingxi's instructions. Song Qingran continued living in this house but stopped provoking me altogether. Acting as though I were invisible, I spend every day racking my brain trying to figure out how to get in touch with the outside world. Eventually, my attention landed on Song Qingran, but she never gave me the chance. Brother Xian forbade you from leaving. How could I betray him by helping you, Jiang Miao? You simply don't understand the bond between us. Just as Xian has always supported me, I would move heaven and earth to help him achieve whatever he desires. At that moment, I caught a glimpse of unwavering determination and sincerity in Song Qingran's eyes. Perhaps I've been wrong all along. Between Qing Xian and Song Qingran exists an unshakable trust that leaves no room for outsiders, so Qing Xian would rather neglect his own wife and child to help his childhood sweetheart. Every night after returning home, Qing Xian would tell bedtime stories to the unborn child in Song Qingran's womb. It was already past 10 in the evening when he knocked on my door. I opened the door for him, and for a moment we stood there in silence. I turned and lay back on the bed, noticing the glimmer of tears in Qing Shi's eyes before he quickly wiped them away. The room I live in is even worse than the housekeeper's quarters. It barely fits a bed, with no space to even sit down. Every room in the house has been taken over by Song Qingran. One serves as her child's nursery, another is her music practice room, and the rest are dedicated spaces for storing her belongings. Even Qing Xian is now living with Song Qingran to make it easier to care for her. Qing Xian stood by the bed and silently pulled a cigarette from his pocket. He was about to light it when he realized there were no windows in the room, so he put it back. I said impatiently, "What do you want?" "I'm trying to sleep." Qing Xian lowered his gaze, his tone laced with a barely perceptible pain. "Meow meow, are you really that determined to get rid of our baby? Do you really have so little faith in my love for you?" This was the first time Qing Xian had ever said he loved me, but now I can no longer tell if those were his true feelings, or just a ploy to convince me to carry the pregnancy to term. I closed my eyes, surrendering to fate as 2 silent tears traced down my cheeks. "I'll keep the baby. Please give me back my phone. You know I have no one to contact anyway." Qing Xian drew me into the crook of his arm, his voice trembling with barely contained emotion. "All right. Whatever you want to do, I'll go along with it." The moment I got my phone back, the anxiety that had been weighing on me for days finally subsided. No one knew that I, as the Jiang family's adopted daughter, was merely a pawn in their marriage alliance with the Qing family. In truth, I had already found my biological parents 3 years prior, but back then, I chose to stay and marry Qing Xian instead of leaving with them. Though it pained them, they still respected my decision. Before leaving, they gave me a phone number and said, "If life ever becomes unhappy, Mom and Dad will come get you anytime." I never paid much mind to those words before, but now they're my only lifeline. 6 months into Song Qingran's pregnancy, she suggested going abroad for her maternity care. Qing Xian hadn't planned on going so early, but Song Qingran kept pestering him until he had no choice but to agree in the end. As he was leaving, he told me, "Meow meow, I promise I'll be back to be with you before our baby is born. I know I've been unreasonable this time. Once Qingran's matter is settled, I'll make it up to you twice over." I obediently nodded to everything he said. Qing Xian stared at me for a long time, and I couldn't tell if he had noticed something. It wasn't until Song Qingran called out to him that he slowly averted his gaze from me. As he left, Qing Xian walked very slowly, turning back once more to look at me standing by the door. Suddenly, he spun around and ran back, pulling me into a tight embrace. There was a panic in his voice I'd never heard before. "Meow meow, I'm not leaving. I won't even care about Song Qingran's child anymore. I want to stay with you and our baby." As the words hung in the air, my heart suddenly clenched. I let the man hold me without reacting, saying calmly, "If you could truly abandon Song Qingran without a second thought, you wouldn't be Qing Xian. Don't test me, whether I'm angry or not. You're still leaving." I could feel the man's tense body relax slightly, and I secretly let out a sigh of relief too. Amid Song Qingran's urging, Qing Xian reluctantly let go of me. Just as he was about to get in the car, the housekeeper suddenly called out to him, "Sir, perhaps you should have your wife move upstairs. Her current room is too damp." Qing Xian pondered for a moment, visibly reluctant. "Meow meow, you can move to the guest room for now. Don't touch Qingran's things. I'm worried she'll be upset when she returns." I replied with a simple "okay." Only after Qing Xian's plane took off did I truly feel at ease. I burst into laughter in the spacious living room. Seeing me finally smile, the housekeeper was delighted too and had the kitchen prepare my favorite sweet and sour pork ribs. I glanced at my phone. 12 more hours. My birth parents were coming to get me. Within half an hour of my call, they were already on a private jet heading my way. I told them Qing Xian Had over a dozen bodyguards watching my every move. The middle-aged man on the other end of the line let out a haughty chuckle. Meow meow. Forget about one Qing family. We wouldn't bat an eye at 100 of them. You're the sole heir to this family. All of this will be yours when you return. Though I couldn't tell if this biological father I'd only met once was exaggerating, yet his words managed to soothe my restless heart. But before I could finish my meal, Song Qingran's parents burst in. Unexpectedly, with Cheng's parents and a group from the Jiang family, they looked down on me with contempt and disdain written across every face. Mrs. Qing tossed a divorce agreement in front of me, demanding I sign it, get an abortion, sign the papers, and the Qing family will let bygones be bygones. Song Qingran's mother chimed in from the side. If it were me, I'd make sure everyone knew. I'd ruin her reputation completely. The Jiangs certainly raised quite a daughter. Mr. Zhang's father, feeling his pride was wounded, stepped forward and slapped me across the face. You little brat, just you wait. The aunt who tried to step in and protect me was forcibly held back. Sitting at the table, I felt a profound sense of helplessness that day. I memorized every single one of their disgusting faces. I picked up the pen and signed my name on that piece of paper just before the abortion. I spoke up calmly. What if the baby I'm carrying is Qing Xian's, but Song Qingran's isn't? Will you regret this? I'm genuinely looking forward to that day. Without giving them a chance to respond, I stood up and entered the hospital under their escort. The moment the child was aborted, I broke down in uncontrollable tears. Why does it still hurt to let go of a child even I couldn't bring myself to love? When I woke up, 2 people were standing by my bedside. They were weeping inconsolably on either side of me, completely unaware that I had regained consciousness. It took a nurse passing by the room to finally get their attention. Would you 2 give it a rest? He's been awake for quite some time now. They stopped crying instantly, and I gave them a faint smile, seeing how weak I was. My biological father was absolutely furious. I'll make sure those who hurt you pay the price. My mother gently stroked my forehead, her touch as warm as it had been in my dreams. Meow meow. Don't be scared. Mom and Dad will always be here for you. Ever since the day I was adopted by the Jiang family, I've been wondering, what would it feel like to have parents by my side while the Jiang children could skip countless training classes just by whining a little. I worked without a single day off, rain or shine. Eventually, they molded me into a presentable marriage candidate. Just as I had hoped, the Jiang family paraded me at various banquets and matchmaking events, showcasing me like a commodity for appraisal. Had Qing Xian not proposed to me, they would have married me off to the highest bidder. Can you imagine what it feels like when someone you've secretly loved for years suddenly proposes to you? Back then, I was so thrilled I couldn't sleep for 2 whole days and nights, with this irrepressible secret joy lingering in my heart. Everyone says I should hate Qing Xian, despise his fickleness and heartlessness, resent him for hurting me over his childhood sweetheart. But honestly, I don't really hate Qing Xian that much. He simply chose the one he cared about most among all the people he held dear. I don't hate him, but I resent that he's already made his choice, yet he refuses to let me go. This resentment lingers longer than hatred, and is far less forgivable. After I had fully recovered, my biological parents took me with them. We boarded their private jet and embarked on my new life far away overseas. Qing Xian, who was accompanying his childhood sweetheart during her pregnancy, suddenly felt a dull ache in his chest. Ever since the day he left, he had been haunted by an indescribable sense of unease. The feeling was so overwhelming he couldn't sit still. He called Jiang Miao's cell phone over a dozen times, but no one answered. Qing Xian was completely panicked. He had to go back, had to find Jiang Miao. But Song Qingran stopped her at the door, standing opposite him with her visibly rounded belly. Her pitiful sobs tugged at his heartstrings, and Qing Xian immediately gathered her into his arms to comfort her. Pregnant women are naturally more sensitive. He really should have known better. How could he have left her all alone in a foreign land? Whatever, he's already made all the arrangements at home. No one can lay a finger on Jiang Miao. Jiang Miao must have thrown a fit because he went abroad to accompany Qing Ran during her pregnancy. Qing Xian always knew Jiang Miao wasn't as easygoing as she appeared. After he left, she was definitely jealous. Qing Xian rubbed his forehead, let out a few helpless chuckles, yet felt a faint glimmer of delight. That evening, Qing Xian called home, and the housekeeper answered the phone. Is Miao Miao asleep? She's not answering my calls. Under the weight of countless eyes filling the room, the housekeeper hesitated before speaking. Madam has gone to bed. She's likely upset with you and Miss Qing Ran, and said she won't speak to you until you return. Qing Xian let out a long sigh, his tone carrying a sense of relief he'd never felt before. I knew it, she's always been the jealous type. The housekeeper added, Sir, It would be best not to call your wife before returning home, as you know, she's pregnant and shouldn't be upset. If there's anything you need, you can always ask me. Qing Xian knew Jiang Miao's temperament well. He understood her anger wouldn't subside until he returned. After all, it was only 3 months until he could return home to stay with her and their child for good. After hanging up, the housekeeper was drenched in sweat, her clothes completely soaked through. Mother Song remarked, 3 months is more than enough for Qingran to capture Xian's heart. By the time he returns, he'll probably have forgotten all about that fickle woman. Mother Qing nodded absently. She knew her son well. His feelings for Jiang Miao were genuine. She kept wondering what Jiang Miao had really meant by those parting words. Though she knew it must have been a desperate lie from that woman, yet she could never shake the memory of how Jiang Miao had looked at them. Madame Qing only snapped out of her thoughts when someone called her to leave. 3 months flew by, and Song Qingran gave birth to a son. Since Song Qingran needed to recover and the baby was too young, it wasn't convenient for them to return home just yet. To make matters worse, postpartum Song Qingran became even more tearful than during her pregnancy, making it impossible for Qing Xian to leave her side. As a result, they ended up staying abroad for another 6 months. Qing Xian was far from calm. He wished he could fly to Jiang Miao's side immediately to care for her, yet he couldn't bring himself to leave Song Qingran behind in her current state. His heart remained with Jiang Miao, while his body lingered abroad like an empty shell. According to their housekeeper, Jiang Miao had given birth to their son that day. He couldn't find the words to describe the sheer joy he felt. Though he had promised Qingran to cherish her child as his own, it still felt different from the connection he had with the child Jiang Miao bore him. Qing Xian finally had a son. He now has a son with the woman he loves. He had made up his mind to raise both children together. They would grow up as the closest of brothers. Qing Xian was burning with impatience to return home, and nothing could hold him back now. When Song Qingran heard he was returning to the country, she knew she couldn't put it off any longer. She secretly made a phone call to Mother Song. Seeing Qing Xian looking absolutely over the moon, Song Qingran grew a bit concerned. Mother Song smiled and comforted her daughter. Silly girl, I think childbirth has addled your brain. Your son is Qing Xian's own flesh and blood. What are you worried about? Even if that woman Jiang Miao's child were still around, it would be a bastard. Do you really think Qing Xian would raise it as his own? Song Qingran's words caught in her throat. With no one able to understand her turmoil, she couldn't possibly tell her mother that this child wasn't actually Qing Xian's. She had no choice but to swallow all her anxiety. Now she could only hope that she and their child held more weight in Xian's heart than Jiang Miao. The day Qing Xian returned to the country, the house had already been emptied. After I left, Cheng's mother disposed of everything in the house, so when Qing Xian returned home, he was completely stunned. Cheng's parents, Song Qingran's parents, and the Jiang family were all there waiting for him. Rather than letting Qing Xian find out and cause a scene, it was better to take the initiative and let him know the truth. Qing Xian stood at the doorway, staring at the empty house, his legs feeling as heavy as lead. His voice carried a low, subtle tremor. Where's Jiang Miao? Where's my son? Seeing the hurt in her son's expression, Mrs. Qing felt convinced that she had made the right decision back then. She produced the divorce papers I had already signed and said calmly, "You're already divorced. She didn't go through with the pregnancy. We lied to you." Qing Xian stared at the divorce papers placed in his hands, fat tears rolling down his cheeks. How could this be? She promised she'd wait for me to come back. Song Qingran rushed back from the airport, holding her child in her arms. After getting off the plane, Qing Xian didn't wait for her at all and hurried over alone. Seeing Qing Xian crying his heart out, she felt a pang of sorrow in her heart. Seeing her daughter and grandson return, Mrs. Song quickly took the child from Song Qingran's arms. She carried it over to Qing Xian for him to see. "Xian, this is your real son. That bastard Jiang Miao is gone for good. Good riddance. Get away from me." Qing Xian's eyes blazed with fury as he shoved her away with brute force. The child slipped from Mother Song's arms and nearly fell to the ground. Father Qing took the child and stepped forward, slapping Qing Xian to the floor. "Qing Xian, this child is the Qing family's first grandson. He matters more than you do." Father and Mother Song exchanged a discreet glance, subtle smiles playing on their faces. Qing Xian lay on the ground laughing like a madman. He laughed until he was gasping for air, coughing repeatedly. "How dare a bastard compare to my child? Did Miao Miao not tell you? The child in her womb is mine." Qing Xian rose from the floor and reached out to gently tease the child in his father's arms. His eyes burned with overwhelming hatred. Seeing Qing Xian's alarming state, Song Qingran snatched the child away and hid behind her mother. Qing Xian noticed Song Qingran's terrified expression and the shocked reactions of everyone else. He chuckled again, walking up to each person and repeating the same words over and over. Jiang Miao is carrying my child, the true firstborn grandson of the Qing family. Finally, he stopped in front of Mother Song and pointed at Song Qingran, declaring, her child is the bastard, she's the one who tried to pin this bastard on me, ha ha ha, we've all been fooled by this woman. Everyone in the room was stunned that day. The Jiang family was filled with the deepest regret, glaring at Song Qingran's family as if they were mortal enemies. Mr. and Mrs. Song, who cared deeply about saving face, scurried away like rats fleeing the light. All Mr. and Mrs. Qing could think about was what Jiang Miao had said to them that day. She did it on purpose, deliberately made them lose the Qing family's first grandson. She wanted them to live with unbearable regret, overwhelmed by emotion. Mrs. Qing choked on a breath and fainted. Qing Xian watched the chaos unfolding around him with cold detachment, not moving a muscle. He knew his reckoning had only just begun. It wasn't until my biological parents brought me home that I realized they hadn't been exaggerating. In this place they called home, even basic transportation required a private vehicle. As fate would have it, my biological father's surname is also Jiang, so I never had to change my name. The Jiang family is a centuries-old reclusive clan with countless enterprises across the country, and I am its sole heir. My disappearance back then was the result of being targeted during internal family strife over power and influence. Later, my father purged the family ranks with swift and decisive action. They searched for me over 20 years and never gave up. There was no shortage of internal opposition to my sudden emergence as the heir, but outwardly, everyone treated me with utmost respect. My father said as long as he was around, no one would ever let me suffer any injustice, but I wasn't willing to do that. During my over 20 years with the Jiang family, I had become adept at learning new things. Now that I'm back and given such a big platform, I want to carve out my own path through my own efforts. Over the course of 3 years, I doubled the intensity of my learning compared to my time with the Jiang family. Through my hard work, I achieved remarkable results and gradually gained a number of supporters. That day, I had just signed a multi-billion-dollar contract. My father called me into his study. In the study, besides my parents, there was a tall stranger. There was something oddly familiar about his silhouette. It wasn't until the man turned to look back at me that I realized who he was. On the day I ran into Qing Xian and his childhood sweetheart at the hospital, I ended up taking his taxi home. I cried the whole ride, using up every last tissue he had. When we arrived, he absolutely refused to take my fare. In that moment, it was the kindness of this stranger that allowed me to glimpse a faint glimmer of the world's beauty. So it turns out my family had already placed someone by my side back then. The man bowed respectfully to me, maintaining a strictly professional demeanor. Good day, young mistress. My father ran a hand through his hair and introduced him to me with an almost ingratiating tone. Meow meow. This is the fiancé I've chosen for you. If you're not happy with him, don't worry. We can always find someone else. No one noticed that when the idea of replacing him was mentioned. The man's body briefly tensed up, and his disappointment was plain for anyone to see. I don't actually plan to stay single my whole life. Life needs a little spice after all, but I could never marry someone who's practically a stranger to me. Let him start as my assistant first. We can discuss marriage later. As soon as these words were spoken, both men in the study looked delighted. After the laughter subsided, my father kept me behind and cautiously asked me, Meow meow, are you still thinking about that Qing Xian? His sudden question left me momentarily dazed. Seeing my distracted expression, my father became even more convinced that I hadn't forgotten him. He muttered a few words to himself for no apparent reason. Did I go a bit too far with this? My hearing is sharp, so I caught every word. Father cleared his throat uncomfortably and began explaining to me at a measured pace. After I left, my parents learned the whole truth about what happened. To avenge me, they brought down the Jiang family's company and the Qing family's business. As for the Song family, who cared so much about their reputation, the scandal surrounding Song Qingran became public and caused quite a disgraceful scene. Several men came forward claiming to be the child's father. The incident so enraged Song's parents that they both ended up in the hospital. Honestly, Song Qingran being pregnant wouldn't have been a big deal. It's just that her methods were utterly revolting. After the Qing family went bankrupt, Song Qingran married Qing Xian, bringing their child with her. It suddenly dawned on me, no wonder I'd inexplicably gained a fiancé out of nowhere. So they're worried I might blame him out of lingering affection. Seeing how miserable Qing Xian is now, I let out a helpless chuckle. feeling grateful to have family by my side. When my daughter turned 2, I returned to China with my parents. My parents had been considering moving back to China for quite some time. If I hadn't been pregnant at the time, they would have gone back long ago. My daughter took my surname, and I named her Jiang Baobao. I hope she'll always be cherished like a little baby. Setting foot on this homeland again, my state of mind is entirely different from when I first arrived. I'm blessed with so many wonderful things in my life now: the unwavering love from my parents, the thoughtful care from my husband, and the heartwarming affection from my daughter. I never imagined the world could be this small. After all these twists and turns, I somehow crossed paths with Song Qingran again, but she's nothing like the person I remembered at all. As I walked past her, I never expected Song Qingran to spot me in the crowd. With just one glance, she suddenly dropped her shovel and rushed over to me. I thought she was coming to pick a fight, but to my surprise, she broke down in tears right in front of me. Her tone was almost pleading. "Jiang Miao, please go see Xian. Just one meeting is all I ask." Afraid I might leave, she clutched my sleeve desperately and sent the little boy beside her running upstairs to call for someone. There was also a girl slightly older than my daughter, holding Song Qingran's hand. My husband moved to pull Song Qingran away, but I shook my head at him. If I don't even have the courage to face Qing Xian now, then these past few years have truly been wasted. Qing Xian stumbled down the stairs reeking of alcohol, and my daughter immediately covered her nose. I asked my husband to hold our daughter and wait for me further away. Seeing me frown, Qing Xian sniffed his own clothes and gave an awkward, strained smile, took a few steps back. "Meow meow, how have you been?" I nodded. The atmosphere grew tense for a moment, and I started feeling impatient. Song Qingran couldn't stand watching any longer. She nudged Qing Xian forward. "Brother Xian, just say it already. Tell her you've been thinking of her every single day, that she's the one you love most, that you've been torturing yourself all these years." To atone, tears streamed down Song Qingran's face. Qing Xian didn't utter a single word. His gaze simply rested on my husband and daughter. Then he asked me, "Does he treat you well?" Seeing Qing Xian putting on that feigned look of devotion, I couldn't resist taking a jab at him. "Qing Xian, who are you putting on this grieving act for? You're just patting yourself on the back. Haven't you already gotten married? If you're married, you should treat your wife and children better, can't you? See how much they're struggling." Song Qingran, once pampered and cherished, now had hands rough and calloused. In just a few years, she seemed to have aged more than a decade. The little boy was so thin you could see his bones, looking as if a strong gust of wind would knock him over. That little girl was dressed in tattered clothes, and at 3 or 4 years old, she still put her fingers in her mouth. As for Qing Xian, ever since the Qing family went bankrupt, he had given up on himself, smoking and drinking heavily, relying on his parents and wife to support him. How could a man with so little sense of responsibility love someone so deeply? He just can't come to terms with his current life. He regrets making the wrong choice between me and Song Qingran back then. He's crafted this devoted persona for himself to escape reality. The mere sight of such a man offends my eyes. Shortly after we left, terrified shrieks and sobs of children echoed behind us. Qing Xian hurled everything from Song Qingran's stall to the ground. After venting his rage, he crouched on the ground, clutching his head as he wept bitterly. Song Qingran watched with a pained heart, tears welling in her eyes, while the 2 children also began to cry along. After Qing Xian had cried his fill, he stood there for a long time, staring in the direction where I had disappeared. Finally, he staggered his way upstairs. "We're out of liquor. Go buy me a bottle and bring it up." Seeing that Qing Xian had stopped crying, Song Qingran happily took some money from the cash box and gave it to the young boy. "Go buy your father 2 bottles of good liquor." The little boy refused, and Song Qingran slapped him hard on the back. "You little bastard, if you don't start behaving, I'll throw you out of this house." The little girl beside Song Qingran clung to her brother's leg, crying and screaming, "Don't make my brother leave, please don't send him away." Song Qingran immediately softened his voice to comfort the little girl. As the boy turned around, tears streamed down his face. He walked alone toward the supermarket. In the end, I stared at the boy's retreating figure for a long time, and suddenly remembered my own childhood self. We were the same, always treated differently, set apart from the rest. My daughter beside me wrapped her chubby little arms around my neck and asked in her soft, gentle voice, "Mommy, what are you looking at?" I smiled faintly, watching the Jiang Miao of bygone days dissipate into the wind. The end.